This is the courtroom of the mind, and it is here that our intentions are most often ambushed and defeated. The moment you think, I should get up now, the prosecution immediately rises. It presents evidence of your fatigue, it cross-examines your ambition, and it pleads for the comfort of the status quo. The defense attorney meant to be on your side is often weak and underprepared, mumbling half-hearted affirmations that are easily shouted down. And your conscious will is often swayed by the most compelling, immediate argument, which is almost always the one that offers the path of least resistance. This internal litigation is not laziness, it is analysis paralysis. It is the cognitive burden of choice, the weight of anticipation, and the fear of the effort itself. We are not avoiding the action, we are exhausted by the mental preamble to the action, we are drained by the negotiation. The energy we expend arguing with ourselves about the task often far exceeds the energy required to simply do the task. The thought of the difficulty, the boredom, or the potential for failure becomes a heavier burden than the reality of the action would ever be. But our mind, a brilliant instrument designed for self-preservation, expertly magnifies these perceived costs, creating a powerful inertial force that holds us in place. It's a sophisticated defense mechanism against expending precious energy, a relic from a time when conservation was key to survival. But in our modern world, this mechanism often misfires, protecting us not from genuine danger, but from productivity, from growth, and from the fulfillment of our own potential. Therefore, to label this laziness is to misunderstand the machinery of our own minds. It is to blame the driver for a faulty GPS system. The feeling of inertia is not the problem, it is the symptom. The problem is the courtroom. The problem is the endless, draining debate that we allow to take place between the spark of an intention and the physical manifestation of that intention in the world. When we recognize this, the entire challenge shifts. The goal is no longer to become more disciplined, a vague and daunting undertaking. The goal becomes much more precise and achievable. How do we silence the courtroom? How do we execute the order before the appeal for a stay can be filed? The solution then must be one that operates faster than thought, that bypasses the judicial process of the mind entirely and goes straight to the muscle, to the body, to the part of you that can act without a lengthy debate. The genius of the 2-second trick lies not in its complexity, but in its strategic simplicity. It is a psychological judo move that uses the momentum of the mind's own hesitation against itself. The moment you feel the impulse to act, to rise from your chair, to open the document, to lace up your running shoes, a critical window of opportunity opens. This window is incredibly brief, a fleeting aperture before the heavy gates of the internal courtroom slam shut, initiating the full-scale trial of pros and cons, fears, and justifications. The 2-second rule is designed to exploit this vulnerability in the system of resistance. It is not a call to brute force willpower. In fact, it is the exact opposite. It is a call to immediate, almost subconscious, physical action before the mental bureaucracy can even be convened. The instruction is starkly simple. You do not wait, you do not think, you do not think, you do not negotiate. On the count of 2, you move. This movement is the bypass. Think of it as a secret tunnel dug beneath the fortified walls of your own resistance. The courtroom, the place of judgment, debate, and delay, steered momentarily obsolete. By the time the prosecution stands to object, you have already thrown the covers off. By the time the defense attorney begins its weak plea, you are already on your feet. The trial is over before the jury can even be seated because you have already executed the verdict through a simple, decisive physical act. This works because it shifts the entire locus of control from the cognitive to the physical. Your thinking mind, for all its brilliance, is a master of delay, a virtuoso of complication. It can conjure 1,000 reasons why now is not the perfect time, why you are not the perfect person, why the task is not of the utmost importance. Your body, however, operates on a more direct logic. It understands motion. It responds to command. The trick is a gentle coup d'etat where the sovereignty of the self is temporarily transferred from the hesitant mind to the obedient body. You are not fighting the thoughts. You are not trying to win the argument. That is a battle you will often lose because the mind that creates the resistance is the same mind you are using to fight it, a perfectly designed stalemate. Instead, you are sidestepping the conflict entirely. You are acknowledging the thought, I don't feel like it, and then choosing to act as if the thought is irrelevant data, background noise to be acknowledged but not obeyed. This transforms your relationship with your own inertia. It is no longer a wall you must batter down with motivational speeches and self-scolding. It becomes a predictable gate that you have learned to slip through in the moment it takes to open. The power is in the preemption. Test. You are acting so quickly that the sophisticated defense systems of procrastination and overanalysis are left firing at a target that has already left the building. Each successful execution of this trick is a masterclass in quiet, efficient agency, teaching you that you are not a passenger in your own mind's courtroom, but the sovereign with the power to adjourn it indefinitely with a single, swift, 2-second motion. We have been taught a dangerous and backward formula for achievement. We believe that inspiration must precede action, that the feeling must come first. We wait for a lightning bolt of motivation to strike, empowering us to finally begin. We stand at the edge of the pool, dipping a toe in for some internal feeling to signal that the water is now acceptable, that we are now ready to swim. This is the fundamental error. It places your agency in the hands of a fickle and unpredictable emotional state. Motivation is not the cause of action. It is its reward. The true sustainable sequence is not feel, then act. It is act, and then the feeling will follow. This is the profound psychological pivot at the heart of the 2-second trick. It is the deliberate decision to let your body lead your mind out of the wilderness of its own hesitation. Your physical self is not burdened by the same complex fears, projections, and narratives as your cognitive self. Your arm does not debate the merit of reaching for the light switch. Your legs do not philosophize about the purpose of walking. They are instruments of action waiting for a command. By initiating a physical movement, the simple act of standing up, of opening a laptop, of putting on your shoes, you are generating the raw data of experience. You are creating momentum where there is only stagnation. This initial tiny action sends a powerful, disruptive signal to the brain. It tells the procrastinating mind, the decision has been made. We are already in motion. Your job is no longer to debate the if or the why, but to manage the how. Action creates a biochemical and psychological shift. The very act of moving changes your state. It increases blood flow, it alters your breathing, it signals to your nervous system that you are engaged, not retreating. This physical shift begins to dismantle the mental fortress of resistance. The mind, seeing the body already committed, often has no choice but to fall in line and reorient its resources toward the task at hand. It's the momentum of a flywheel. The initial push requires the most conscious effort, the most deliberate overcoming of inertia. But with that first rotation, the task becomes easier. The resistance lessens. What began as a forced 2-second motion gradually builds its own kinetic energy, pulling you forward. The feeling of being in the zone. That state of flow and engagement is never found by waiting for it. It is found by entering the water. It is the result of action, not its prerequisite. The 2-second trick, therefore, is the catalyst that starts this virtuous cycle. It is the initial decisive push on the flywheel of your own potential. You are not waiting to feel like a runner. You start running, and in the doing, you become one. You are not waiting to feel like a writer. You write the first sentence, and the identity begins to solidify around the action. By letting the body lead, you are not bypassing the mind. You are educating it. You are teaching it that action is the most potent source of inspiration, and that momentum is the most reliable cure for doubt. The language we use to confront our own inaction is often a language of violence. We declare war on ourselves. We speak of fighting laziness, of crushing procrastination, of defeating our inner critic. We approach our own hesitation as an enemy to be vanquished, a rebellion to be put down by force. This paradigm of self-aggression is not only exhausting, it is fundamentally flawed. It creates a civil war within the self, pitting one part of you against another. The 2-second trick proposes a radical alternative to this internal conflict. It is not an active battle, but an active reclamation. It is not about conquering a flawed part of yourself, but about gently, firmly taking back the controls from an overprotective and hesitant co-pilot. The mind, in its desire to conserve energy and avoid potential discomfort, has seized the steering wheel and is guiding you toward the path of least resistance. which is often the path of stagnation. The moment of impulse, the thought to act, is your window of sovereignty. It is your brief opportunity to reassert your role as the captain of your own ship. The count of 1, 2 is not a battle cry. It is the calm, decisive command of someone who remembers their inherent authority. The physical movement that follows is not an act of violence against your mind, but a simple, direct execution of your will. You are not screaming at the co-pilot or wrestling for the wheel. You are quietly reaching over, placing your hands on the controls and making a corrective turn. This shift in perspective, from self-aggression to sovereign reclamation, is transformative. It replaces the energy of conflict with the energy of agency. Shame and frustration, the common fuels of a self-punitive approach, are volatile and short-lived. They burn brightly and then leave you in deeper exhaustion. The energy of reclamation, however, is sourced from self-respect and a quiet assertion of power. It is sustainable. It is the difference between a tyrant brutally suppressing a revolt and a rightful king calmly restoring order to his own kingdom. The trick allows you to bypass the emotional drama entirely. There is no need for the exhausting performance of psyching yourself up, of giving yourself a stern lecture in the mirror. All of that is just more courtroom drama, more noise. The 2-second action is a silent command. It is leadership of the self demonstrated through action, not through internal negotiation or emotional flagellation. You are not bullying yourself into productivity. You are leading yourself into action. This is why the trick feels so different from failed attempts at sheer willpower. Willpower is a finite resource that depletes under the friction of internal conflict. Reclamation, however, is an alignment of your will with your action. It is an integrated state where what you decide and what you do become one and the same without a torturous process in between. Each time you successfully execute this trick, you are not winning a fight. You are casting a vote for your own sovereignty. You are proving to yourself, through a tiny, concrete, physical act, that you are in command. You are strengthening the neural pathways of agency and weakening the old circuits of hesitation and self-debate. It is a quiet revolution, one not with weapons of self-criticism, but with the simple, repeated act of reclaiming your innate power to begin. We often speak of building habits as if we are constructing something external to ourselves, a new routine, a new system, a new set of rules to live by. We focus on the external scaffolding, the calendars, and the to-do lists, believing that if we can just get the structure right, we will finally become the person we want to be. But this is a misunderstanding of the fundamental process. The most profound change does not happen by building new structures around an old self. It happens by becoming a new person, from the inside out. Every action you take is not merely a check mark on a list, it is a vote for your identity. It is a signal you send to the deepest part of your psyche about who you are and what you are capable of. This is the ultimate power of the 2-second trick. It is not just a tool for task initiation, it is a factory for identity formation. When you are lying in bed, hearing the alarm and the thought, "I should get up," is immediately followed by the internal groan of, "I can't." You are at a critical polling station. To stay in bed is to cast a vote for the identity of someone who is ruled by their comfort, who negotiates with their commitments, who breaks promises to themselves. It reinforces a neural pathway that says, "My feelings are in charge." But when you employ the 2-second trick, 1, 2, and you swing your legs out of bed, you are casting a powerful, decisive vote for a different identity entirely. You are not just getting up, you are becoming the kind of person who acts on their decisions. You are strengthening the neural pathway of agency. This is not about a single action. It is about the story you are telling yourself about yourself. Each time you bypass the internal courtroom with simple physical motion, you are not just completing a task. You are providing your brain with concrete evidence. The brain, a relentless pattern recognition machine, collects this evidence. One successful 2-second act is a data point. 10 of them is a trend. 100 of them is a new identity. The person who consistently gets up on 2 is by definition a disciplined person. The person who consistently starts the task on 2 is by definition a proactive person. The external results, the finished projects, the fit body, the organized life, are merely the inevitable byproducts of this internal identity shift. You are not building the habit of running. You are becoming a runner. You are not forcing yourself to write. You are becoming a writer. The 2-second trick is the tiny, repeated ritual that forges this new self. It is the moment where you practice being the person you want to be. It makes the abstract concrete. You cannot become disciplined in a single grand gesture, but you can be disciplined for 2 seconds. And then you can do it again and again. Each time, you are laying down another brick in the foundation of your new identity. This is why the trick is so liberating. It releases you from the overwhelming pressure of a complete personality overhaul. You are not tasked with eradicating laziness from your soul. You are only tasked with acting for 2 seconds like the person who has already done so. The focus shifts from the daunting, amorphous goal of self-improvement to the simple, immediate question: what would my future self do in this exact moment? And then, before the old self can answer, you move. One vote at a time, one 2-second action at a time, you are not just managing your behavior, you are architecting your soul.